This question pertains to how you engage and prioritize communities within your district. Community centers like this one are known as third places, separate from our first place, our home, and our second place, our work, and are a place where community actually happens in a city. And while there are government-operated third places like libraries and business-operated third places like bars, nonprofit third places are facing severe challenges. To use the Oddfellows Community Center here as an example, half of the street parking we had access to for decades was unilaterally taken away from us by a previous San Jose City Council. And in the years ahead, choices around how to develop the vacant lot next door will similarly impact the future of this third place. There are many nonprofit third places reflecting our city's diverse populations culturally, religiously, and civically that will be similarly impacted by your future choices on the City Council. In light of this, what is your position on engaging and prioritizing communities, especially the forgotten nonprofit third places within San Jose and District 6? Angelo, you go first.
Thank you. That was a very good question. I think the understanding for me is community fabrics, right? I look at community as an opportunity for an ecosystem, and that ecosystem must be diverse. And the understanding that the opportunities for diversity in the ecosystem create more and more models that we can have more community engagement. One of the things that I've been able to learn with knocking and talking with so many residents is that there are multitudes of different voices within the community. Part of the things that I want to continue if I'm on council is the opportunity for continued community engagement. Right now, our neighborhood associations and our business associations and our nonprofit associations are sometimes independent of one another. What I want to do is bring the collective community together from all of the voices, the myriad of voices in the community itself, and allow them the opportunity for each neighborhood association, each business association, each nonprofit to come forward with their list of their top 10 priorities for the district itself. And then what we do is meet in a forum where the District 6 leader groups that come together, the business association leaders come together, and then we have the opportunity to democratically vote on the top 3 to top 10 issues inside the city. Now what that does is that provides equity of engagement across all of the community members themselves. But part of a representative democracy is meeting people where they are. So part of that, what I've talked about with some of my policy positions, is continuing to engage residents, neighborhood associations, business associations, and nonprofits by literally knocking on your door. I've done it so far for the past 2 months. I continue to do it for the duration of the campaign. When elected, I want to continue to do that through the duration of the campaign. Through the duration of service. I call it Walking Wednesdays. It's the model of continuing to knock on your door. But now what we do is we have a staff of people ready to be there to meet your needs, meeting people where they are at. Thank you.
So I think our nonprofit sector, our community organizations are really the lifeblood of the city from the standpoint that, it augments our school system, their after-school programs and weekend programs. We have to do what we can to maintain them and to support them. The city can't afford to do all of them, but they do have grant programs that can support them, and we need to continue to make those available. I was the executive director, as I said before, of Children's Theater, but I left in 2001. But in 2019, Kimberly and I agreed to help the organization out of a real jam. At the corner of Parkmore and Meridian, a fancy school out of New York, bought that property, 11 acres, that forced the organization out of its home since 1997. And it had to do it in a hurry. And then COVID hit. But they had to raise a lot of money in a very short period of time. But resources in our community, like the council member Davis's office and the mayor's office and the county of Santa Clara, they recognized what an important asset the Children's Theater was and really sort of stood forward to help us, okay? And so I always like to say my COVID project was helping the Children's Theater raise those funds to then move into a new building. And the trickiest part was the new building and navigating the city process. To take was an old post office, an old retail store, right next to Food Max right there on Parkmore, and turning it into a theater space. You couldn't call it a workout room, or you couldn't call it a classroom. You had to call it a workout room because there were all these gyrations to figure out how it would be an acceptable use for that shopping center. We need to be able to support our nonprofit sector. So when big convulsions like that happen to their organizations, the city has resources to help them. Thank you.
As a neighborhood leader and somebody that has also participated in groups, and don't hold it against me, I'm also an ELK member, so sorry. But I know the importance of being part of another organization and being part of community groups. I think that it's a disservice when we don't engage from bottom up. Community engagement is important in making sure that we have all the voices heard. And although structures are important and they would consider those assets like Michael says, I agree. But I think the assets, the most important assets are the people. Those are the real assets, the people that come into those structures and having those voices heard. So for me, my model would be making sure that the real assets, the people that come and participate day to day, and that I engage with them and that we have conversations with them and making sure that their voices are heard. Today, I couldn't park across the street. And so for me, that's a disservice that when people come to this facility and they can't park right across the street, it doesn't make any sense to me. There's no ability for people to actually come and participate in an organization that does good, that their motto is friendship, love, and truth, and yet they can't come and park right across the street. It's a matter of having accessibility to a place that needs to have welcoming arms. So to answer your question, as a council member, I would partner with the Oddfellows and any other organization that would be welcoming to the community. Thank you.
The solution for building third places is the community. I run a nonprofit that I co-founded. A nonprofit is a business that you have to keep running. And I've led through that nonprofit community visioning workshops where we invite the community to say, hey, if we could change this place, what would we like to see? How would we like to see the future of this building, this neighborhood, this area? And I would be delighted to do that as council member. I've also, as I talked about in my introduction, led the effort to get the farmers market near the Rose Garden. So I have created third places in our community that bring vibrancy, bring culture, bring economic life. I fought very hard as part of a coalition to keep the Berryessa Flea Market in San Jose, which I'm very glad it still exists here, and we're fighting hard to get it a new home and a future so those vendors have control over their economic destiny. I've also proposed new districts in District 6, areas of culture and history. For instance, I suggest we create an area, a cannery district, to honor the history of this valley as a place for canneries, and also the future that celebrates the San Jose Sharks. I proposed a sports entertainment district around where the Sharks exist. So I am very committed to creating places where everyone is welcome and that create new culture in our city. I also don't want to see empty places in our community. And I have ideas for incentives as well as fees that will encourage developers and property owners to fill those empty places with new places for all of us.